Placing the multifunction switch. This is from a C5 Corvette, specifically a 98 model, but it works for C5s. And I purchased this new from one of the well-known vendors. I encourage you to consider looking at some other places. GMparts.com apparently has got very attractive prices. Shout out quickly to the instructions that are written here in the corvetteforum.com, and I will be following these written instructions here. I'm just giving you a video of these written instructions to help with it, because there's nothing video on the web that I saw to remove the multifunction switch here from a C5 Corvette. The symptoms I had personally were some issues with the front headlights popping up. We've done all the usual troubleshooting for the front headlights, and it seemed like the multifunction switch is the most likely thing. Plus, my current switch, my car's got 110,000 on it. When you manipulate it, you can feel some abnormality inside the switch. You put them on enough so you know, and so that concurrently occurred with the headlights not working, and therefore I'm going to replace my multifunction switch here. And dealership, from what I've seen on the internet, charges about $300 for this. Let's see how long it takes us to do it, and see if it's worth our time and our money. I personally paid, let me see here, about $213 for this switch. Perhaps that's more than I should have from the normal vendor. Again, I refer you to Corvette Central. Let's go ahead and get to it. So I assume you're not replacing your switch for grins, because you have nothing to do. We'll see how long this takes us today. Again, the multifunction switch here, this feels abnormal. There's the full headlight position there. If you notice on this particular problem I have, let's see, nothing's going on. Oh yeah, the lights, these lights are on. Driving lights come on. Headlights don't pop up at all. Occasionally, if you play with it enough, you can get the headlights to pop up. And again, it's not something that's a headlight motion issue. The reason I say that is because I've recently worked on those and they work fine. And also, there's a funny feeling in my multifunction switch as if it's defective. Let's go ahead and get to pulling this off here. By removing the kick panel here, they recommend there are two torque screws underneath here. They're the standard torque screws. I actually happen to have a 3/32, one of these multi things, a 3/32 hex here, it looks like, but I'll go ahead and use that to remove that. It fits in properly and it is appropriately. It's not too, it's a little bit loose, but it'll do the job. I won't strip it because it's pretty light duty. The switches are removed underneath. They're both torque screws. This is the bottom part of the kick panel is loose. Let's turn our attention now to the this sub panel right here. I'll use a small thin screwdriver to remove the trim piece. It pops right out. And then what does it say next to do? I remove the screw behind the trunk release switch panel. So, oh, there's a small screw right there. We'll go ahead and remove that one next. Easy game removing that screw there. Next up in pecking order is on the right side of the wheel here, the small vent here. I forget what this is, sensor back here, and it's got a small vent on it. I popped this bad boy off before. Again, a thin screwdriver. This is my daily driver, so I'm careful, but anyway, it pops down there. And there's another screw. Oops, there's another screw right there behind it. I'll remove that with my handy dandy. You might want to get the correct torque screw for this, but I'm using my, I said it was 3/32. Let me see here. Double check, make sure I'm not turning the wrong thing. Yeah, that's 3/32. I don't think this is Torx. There's hex Torx, whatever. You know, and again, if this is a heavy-duty screw, I've got Torx, some Torx stuff elsewhere. Remove this one here. Again, I'm just gently, I'm not stripping it. This is a trim piece, so it's not a structural element or anything like that. Screw from the left-hand trunk release and the right-hand sensor. Again, this senses the interior ambient. Who cares? But it senses the ambient atmosphere of the vehicle. Now we're going to remove the knee panel. So I've pulled this out before. There's some other repairs, so I'll just gently pull the pieces down and out and remove it. It's got some small clips and stuff. Now, there's a clip that's down there now. Forget where that is. Pull it out. I can just gently pull it out. And I'm going to come off line here without just so I can be a little more gentle with it. Panel down, and it's hanging by the wires. I'm just gentle with those wires. I pulled this apart for an air conditioner actuator years ago. Anyway, so that's intact still, and those sensor wires here are also intact. It gives me access to the bottom part of the wheel here, which I think is what they want to do next. I removed that. I just pulled the the sensor here out, threw it just gently through the thing, and I've still got the left-hand switch intact there. I just was able to push it back, or actually forward, to get access to the wheel here. And you see underneath the wheel, there are several things. Here's one torque screw right there. We'll figure out what the other one is. And this is the appropriate star-sized bit. And this bit here is a 725. Oh, that might be T25. Maybe that's what that is. T25. So this is a Torx. This is T25. A Torx 25. Let's see what we told you the first time. No, this the first one I used here. This is a mixed set of various kinds of bits that I'm using here. The first one I showed you is indeed a 3/32 star type bit, but this here looks like it says T as in Torx 25, and that's what I used. So these are Torx bits here. You see there, it's hard to tell them apart. But anyway, this Torx bit fits fine up there into the into the bottom of the steering wheel cover. So I'll find the second one for you in just a second. See which one. There's several holes that I can't see which one it goes up into. And just as a point of information, since we had the discussion earlier briefly, I've got a couple big Torx bits here on the right-hand side there. This bit right here is a Torx. It's like a T60. So just see how the head is different on a Torx from a hex. Here's a hex one. Right here is a hex. Underneath my thumb there, that's a hex. See how this is a little different from the Torx, which is more of a star type pattern. But substantially, in terms of effectiveness, they're very similar in terms of multiple points. And as long as you're putting, usually that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as in hex, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So both the hex and the star pattern have got substantially similar purchase. You just have to be careful if you're doing heavier duty things like these here. I specifically have for doing calipers and brakes, where you really need to have the proper tool because it's heavy. But I just wanted to show that to you, the difference between hex and star type Torx pattern. Torx, these here, this is a Torx. Some people I've heard it called a star pattern too. I'm not sure if that's the proper nomenclature because it does look like a star. But again, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points to it. And an indentation versus the hex, which is right here and it's flat. I found the other bolt and I'll show it to you in a second. This is a hex, a multi-hex wrench like you see. A lot of people have these. This right here is, I believe, the 1/8 size of this hex. And I point that out because that fits in. I'm just going to get it for you here. Right here is the removed Torx wrench. You see that's a Torx head there, but that fits in quite nicely to this 1/8. And it's a little bit loose, but it's good enough. Again, this is a trim piece. And I want to show you the reason I point that out to you is because I want to show you where the hex bolts are here. There was one in this receptacle right here. This other one here is deep, so I can't use the same tool I was using before, so I'm going to have to use this hex tool because it gives me a little bit more depth to get in there. Move both Torx screws from the bottom half of the trim here. You just pull this down, and you have to pull it a little bit. You feel it pop there as the piece comes out. And just, I know this is your baby, but you just pull that bad boy out and it'll pop right out there. And the trim's pretty resilient. I'll pull the backside here in just a second, show you how that works too. They talk about the hinge mechanism here. I'm going to try and show it to you as best I can, just so when you're pulling yours apart, you can figure it out. But see here, with the light shining there, the bottom part of your picture there. So I'm putting my finger on it. Right, this area here where my finger is. I'll put some light on it for you. That area there, there's a small little hook, and you see on the top of it, there's a small little, you can see it better there, hinge mechanism, so the hook has to go forward relative to the top piece in order to pop it off. Again, just for your edification as you pull this piece of trim off. You can see the bottom piece of trim's been removed. We have easy access to the bottom part of the steering wheel now. And I don't know why you'd want to remove the steering wheel from any of this stuff here. There's some talk about that. I'm just going to move down a little because I anticipate we're going to be going after that top one next. Now it's time to get the top two screws, and I've pulled one off already, but here I'm going to show you. Here I'm looking from the bottom, looking up to the top, and if you see, let me see if you see that there. Right. So right there in the center of the screen, the part that's lit up right now. That part there's that's a Torx screw there that holds the top part, and I've removed the one on the left hand side already. So I'm going to get that one lit up for you here. Here's the one on the left hand side. Let me light it up. isn't helpful to you at all. Anyway, if you look up from the bottom here, on this side, my finger in there. All right, so that's the area right there. And see a little circle there right above the yellow thing? And your picture can look from the bottom up here. That's where the other Torx screw was located. I removed that already last time I pulled the dash apart. And again, here is the one on the right hand, on the right hand side, which is the passenger. I'll remove that right there, and then we'll be able to get that top piece off. Weird. It's a Torx socket. That's really weird. I've never seen a Torx socket like that. That is really weird. Here, you need the proper tools for this. This here is a 4mm sized. Here's a 4mm sized. See, almost gotcha moments here. This is a 4mm sized socket, and if you look up here at underneath there. See if I can get it for you. I showed you earlier the right there, that black item right in the center of the field there is a Torx, but it's actually reverse Torx where it comes out at you instead of sticking it. It's a male, if you will, rather than female. So I'm going to put my 4mm socket right on it, and I'll show it to you in a minute. But this is a gotcha kind of thing because you really need a socket. I've never heard of a Torx socket. Maybe they haven't, but this is a 4mm regular socket. I've got a standard one here too that might work, but this is the absolute smallest one I had. I had to look around up for a bit to get it, but that's what it takes to get this other Torx out. So if you don't have a small socket like that, I've never heard of a Torx socket. Maybe you have and you have one, but otherwise you make sure you have at least a 4mm socket. Otherwise you won't be able to complete this part of removing it. This is the unusual gotcha of this repair. From my perspective, it's a tool that's not really standard. I just happen to have one. I tried a couple other tools I have to remove this. I've got very long needleless pliers and some other specialized long tooles. But the problem is I don't want to strip it. And again, it's a trim piece, so it's not it's not critical that it be exactly right. But it has to be. You have to get enough purchase to get it out. So that's a 4mm socket removing the Torx from the top piece. Not to belabor the obvious here, but this is that Torx screw I just removed. And you see, if you look at the top of it there, it's actually a male Torx screw. Again, very unusual. I'm not sure why they used that there, but that required for me to remove that. And it looks like it's about a number 25 Torx. It looks like it's in that size. That's the size I used to template my socket on. And I used a 4mm socket to successfully remove that. And let me see what else I have here. We've got here is a 5/32 socket that will also fit on it. These are very small sockets. Not all socket sets have them, but if you have a 5/32, it will fit, or a 4mm will fit. Neither, of course, are the proper ones, but they'll get the job done. These sockets, again, I show some. You have to be appropriate with your tools. You always do the right tool for the right job, but sometimes you can do a job with a couple different tools. And again, the top piece comes out very easily. There'll be opportunity for me to clean it. And now I have access to the switch itself, the multifunction switch, and by moving the steering wheel left or up and down, looks like I can get easy access to it. And we're off to replacement of the switch itself. Start by removing the top Torx stir. Here's a 25 Torx bit put into the top screw of the assembly. And here's the new assemblies right here. They'll be putting in, and it goes right in like that. That number 25 Torx screw goes in the top there. That's the easier one according to the go-by Corvette form. So I'm in there and I'm going to remove that. So the top screw is out of its hole right there. And I'll tell you one thing about this top screw. It was good. I had the exact proper Torx 25. It's a Torx 25 for that. And that was helpful because this part here is in pretty firmly, so it takes a bit of force to get it. Not force, but it's not a trim piece. It takes a little more effort to get it out of the thing. I'll go ahead and get the other one. The other one is located. Let's see here for you. So this is assembly. That doesn't help me very much. The other Torx screw you can see right here, and this is the one he describes as being tricky, and I can see why it would be tricky. We'll see what we can do to get into that one there. Maybe that's what they're talking about when they say remove the steering wheel, to get this one here out, because there's a small amount of clearance there. So we'll see what we can do. I suspect that what I'm going to do is take my Torx wrench here, my 25 Torx, and use a box wrench as was described in Corvette Central on the edges of it there, and just slowly take my time and pull it out, because I'm not sure I'll be able to get a tool in there. Let's see what we can do. they describe turning the steering wheel so the airbag protrudes here a bit and impedes your access to that torque screw down there that you're going to be going for. So if I turn my steering wheel a bit here, now I've got a little bit easier access to my torque screw. So that's a good idea. It actually will decrease how far the airbag pushes out, because this part of the airbag here pushes out a little fatter than this part here. So it gives me a little bit better access to that the lower, focus on the lower torque screw there. Access to this bottom screw here was I took a vice grip and put it at a slight angle to my 25 Torx, and I put it right into the socket here, and I can sneak it in here, and it enables me at a slight angle here to loosen up that Torx there. You see there. This is where this is the money maker here for you in terms of avoiding pulling the wheel off. So see I've got my Torx 25 Torx runs. I've got a slight angle because of the you can't see because it's not in focus here, but because of the clearances here, you have to turn the wheel, and this is the kind of thing you have to do. Now I think a small box wrench, this is a 1/4 inch wrench, would be the one that would fit the end of this Torx wrench here. I don't have a 1/4 inch with me, unfortunately, but I can do it with this slowly, and this is where he talks about not stripping it. So that's the access to the bottom one. It's a little more difficult. And with the initial use of the box wrench, I'm using this, I have a really long pair of needle-nose pliers here that I'm using to access it. Here so I can access it from an angle here and turn. I can't do it with holding my camera here at the same time, but that way I avoid stripping it. So I grab it with these needle-nose. This is one of many ways, I'm sure, to do this. I think ideally it would be a box wrench, though a small 1/4 inch box wrench is probably the best way to do this. Anyway, and I can't do that and hold it at the same time. I'll also slowly take that out. So once you take that second screw out, and the whole assembly just comes out right like this. And again, just used my fingers and the 25 Torx. I think just 25 Torx really helps. And I used a variety of other tools, my long needle nose. I've got a long hemostat type device here. And these things all together with that make it so really it's not that bad to get it out. I just got to take a little bit of time there to get it out. And there's the switch, the defective switch, hanging by the wires now, so I'll replace those. Now here's the back end of the switch there, and there's the cable there coming off it. If you notice it, you see those orange, purple, and green wires just a little forward of it. This is what you see, the round connector right where my light is there that hooks the black wiring harness in. I'm going to have to cut that connector, cut that wire tie, and then it goes through that whitish object there that holds it up, and then it goes more forward in the card where the actual connectors are. So I'll disconnect those in order to get the switch out. To get off the connector here, you notice at the top here is a connector right there. You see it better in real life. Right there's a connector that hooks and holds this wire group up here. I used to pair these long needle-nose pliers. It seems the best way to get this off. It's hard to get your fingers in there, but that holds that wire bundle intact. You can see the top of it, and I've disconnected it right down there with these long needle-nose pliers. It makes it a little bit easier to get that connector off, unless you have really small hands. The old switch forward here and pull the two wires down. So one goes to the left here and one goes over to the right. The actual connector is right up there. That's one connector right there, and the other connector is over here to the left, right up in here. I'm sorry, you can't see that, can you? It's not going to see, you're not going to be able to see that, but anyway, you can follow this connector up to the left-hand side here in order to find out where it hooks up to. And looking from the top here, I've got my long hemostat pointed. The tip of that hemostat there is pointed at the back end of the connector. It's on the top part of the connector there. It just helps to have the old connector here, so you can see how it's got this small little nub here, which is what we're looking at there, the small little nub here, and you can see how it works by pushing it down. I'm going to play with that and see if I can get it to disconnect from the other one. Again, just for your, see the way it is in the car. You can see the light is on it there. I'll turn a little bit sideways here just to get you a better view. And again, the end of my hemostat there is at the end of that little blue nub, and that the forward one, or top of the picture there, is the one that stays in the car. The bottom one is the one that goes with you, and I still have the right-hand one to do. And again, it helps having the little connector here, so you can see how it hooks up. You push in this part here, I think. I'll play with that and see to get it apart. And just to show you what I did to get this off, you see the two pieces are right here. Get those two pieces there. you can't really see that. So to get the piece you see moving is a piece of my left hand, which is the piece that goes to the piece of replacement. I just pulled it out back there. The way I got to pull it out was I simultaneously pushed on it. I'm going to show you over here. I simultaneously pushed on this nub while I was pulling back. I pushed on that nub by taking my long hemostat here and just pushing on that there, pushing in on that down as I pulled distally, and that pulled it off. Yeah, you can use a bunch of different things there, but that's how you get that connector off. Right. Next, we're going to change, direct our attention to the other side, which is this one right here, and work on getting that one off now. That one I'll get to in a second. The other connector has a very similar design where it looks like you press and it'll be able to pull out because it, it looks like it pulls in, and if you press it in, you'll be able to pull it out and I'll be able to replace it just like that. So that's the design on that one. And my plan is to press it in, just pull it out. And here you can see I actually tilted the wheel up a little bit to enable me to get this a little bit easier here. But you see my fingers in there, trying to get the focus where we're looking at. I don't want to focus down the very well, but if you see my fingers there are holding the connector, and I was able to push on the connector there, and then the connector just comes right out after you push on it there. And then I found the tilting the wheel, I'm coming back here a little bit so you can see the view. I found actually tilting the wheel up a little bit, help with that. So now I've got both of the connectors disconnected, and I've got the old unit hanging there, and I'm going to use that wiring path as a template for putting my new unit in there. So I'm just going to change this old unit out and wire my new wires along the pathway the old wires were. So here I've clicked in both the left hand, and which is down here, and the right hand connectors for the new switch. And going is pretty easy. You can just follow the connectors and they click right in as long as you maintain your orientation, don't lose where you're at. And I'm trying to see if I left my light on here so you can see to the bottom here. There to your left is and just another view of so here's the connector, and down there you see the blue part of it for the main harness here, and the other harness is it's right here. See my finger there, that's where it connects, the black one right there for the other connector. So that's pretty straightforward. So we'll start putting everything back together again. Basically, I'm not going to bore you, I don't think, with the probably it's too late, right? But to bore you with the details, but I'm going to put back the this all in as much possible fashion. I'll hook that back into the O-ring there, and put this back together in reverse order, and I'll let you know if any gotchas when I'm done. Getting the bottom one back in, I was able to use this is a 1/8 inch long hex. I was able to push a little bit against the plastic of the airbag there, just gently. I was able to get that in here, because getting this back in is a little bit difficult in the bottom. That was helpful, a 1/8 inch hex. So now the job is done. I've got the new headlight switch in, and all the dash put back together. You can just follow the steps in reverse there. And in my particular issue, the problem was that the lights were going on, but the headlights were not going up. And you watch here, there's still a little bit of lag on the headlights, but now both headlights go up, and the lights come on. Before, the headlights would not come up, and the lights would not come up. The lights would not come on, but just the other lights worked. There are all sorts of failure modes here on these vehicles as far as the lights go, from what I understand with that switch. But in my particular problem there with that switch there, the switch started feeling funny, and I had problems with the lights going up. And again, there are a whole bunch of different issues with the lights going up, but for me that was the particular issue. Well, I'm upside down here. I'll leave it upside down. I'll flip it up next time. But anyway, and that completion. Now it's been 3 hours and 50 minutes since I started this. 3 hours and 50 minutes. You can see I've used a bunch of different tools here. I did take time out for lunch, took time out to do some stuff with the kids, this, that, and the other, so I definitely wasn't working straight through, and I definitely wasted some time with the wrong tools and taking video, obviously. So I still, use your judgment, but for the first time ever, including a break for lunch and not knowing what tools to use, which hopefully this video will save you the trouble of 3 hours and 50 minutes for me. You can do it in half the time.